Welcome to Go Bucks. It is a pivotal week for Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State plays Iowa against the Cade McNamara, who is undefeated against Ohio State. I'm sure, Matt, you're very worried about that. And Michigan travels to Washington. And I am very worried about that. They're actually underdogs. And Michigan doesn't do well in Washington. I don't think they haven't played very many games in Washington, but I still feel the sting of 2001, which I think was the last time Michigan went there and lost. But anyway, Matt, how's it going with you?
Going all right. I'm waiting to see if our defense can actually stop a good running team this weekend. So this will be probably, one of the biggest tests for our defense, because I feel like we do better against like the spread teams and stuff like like in Oregon. I think the real test is, can we stop a power running team with one of the top three running backs in the country? I mean, we have the best
Wait a
running
minute.
back.
Who is the top three running back in the country? Not
The
Iowa.
guy. Yeah, he's probably the third best. Yeah. Have you seen the stats?
Maybe it's complimentary football versus with
There's
him
no
and Cade.
complimentary. It's the guy's. He's like almost 9 yards a carry. He's incredible.
Yeah, I saw that. That's got to be fool's gold. But we'll find out against the Buckeyes.
Considering he has no passing game, no passing threat. The Ohio State running backs are obviously good, but there's a passing threat too. So they can't just stack the box. So Michigan and Iowa, they have no passing threat. So any running game is just pure skill by the offensive line and running back. So,
yeah.
And that's our biggest weakness right now is, linebackers that are playing new positions and aren't very good yet. So, and I'm hoping Tyreek Williams will be back. I assume he will be. I'm guessing they were probably saving him for this week because our defense is quite a bit more, just way more dangerous with him in the middle there. I mean, he is such a beast.
Yeah.
I'm really worried. It seems like we keep trying to, because Sonny Styles is this 5-star safety, and then they moved him to linebacker, and he wasn't great at safety, and he's definitely not been playing well at linebacker, even though Knowles has said that he's doing pretty good. I don't know if I buy that. I think he's just trying to speak it into existence. But Arvell Reese has been much better, but he hasn't gotten the snaps that Sonny has. So I'm hoping. I don't know. I just hope they can figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. Do you feel like I've got to ask though again? Oh, well, actually, before we get into that, let's talk about how we all need to subscribe to MGO Bucks. So really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So we greatly appreciate it if you subscribe. Thank you. And back to Ohio State though. So talking about Cade, is there any? I mean, I know you're not worried about him as a quarterback. The Buckeye defense probably isn't worried about him as a quarterback. But is there any of the sting from 2001 that the Buckeyes might want to avenge at all? Like, how are you feeling about that? I mean, are you just thinking, I can't wait for our defense to sack Cade McNamara?
I haven't really been thinking about that, to be honest. I've just been worried about the running back. I mean, revenge is always nice, but I'm just worried about the running back, to be honest. That's it. I just really hope that our defense can contain this guy.
Cade did have a couple long passing plays against Ohio State when he was with Michigan.
Yeah. But also that was the worst defense we've had since I've been alive.
Maybe true, but one of those.
It was true. It was the worst one we've had. I think that was the Kerry Combs defense, right? And he was benched. Actually, you know what? He was the coordinator earlier in the year, right, against Oregon, and then he got benched after the Oregon game. So I guess Barnes, became the interim coordinator, who was better than Kerry Combs, but. It was still a disaster that whole year. The defense was just complete garbage.
Well, you know what? I mean, the Ohio State offense now, and really, I know you're talking about defense, but the Ohio State offense is going to get a challenge now. Will Howard is going to get challenged by playing a real defense. I mean, Will Howard now has been playing a lot of teams that he would probably see in the Big 12. He's playing those types of defenses. So far against the Ohio State schedule right now. So he's going to get challenged. And he didn't respond well in when he was at Kansas State when he got challenged by a really good defense. So I'm really interested in seeing that. Now, I don't think that's
he lit up Texas, if you recall.
What's that?
He lit up Texas.
But I think Texas back in the last year or so did not have a great defense. I know he did light them up, but that was still
they made it. They made it to the Final Four last year. I would say the defense was decent.
Yeah, I guess the defense is decent. If you close your eyes against the Washington game, I guess you could say that. They were. I thought
played out of his
they weren't
mind
totally fraudulent last year, but it was still. It felt very Big 12-y. But in any case, I think I'm interested in seeing Will Howard. I think he's actually going to do really well. I don't think he's going to play like he did at Kansas State. It's just going to be interesting to actually see it.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's going to run a lot more this week. He's very few runs so far this year, just because why risk your quarterback getting hurt? But this is a pretty big game, and they need to get him ready. And I mean, I guess the only other thing is, we still might not need to run him even this week, because I think we're like 19.5 point favorites or something, or maybe it's 23. It's between 20 and 23 points. It's a lot. Yeah, I think it was 20, but he, like all these years recently where Iowa has been good and they've had the good defense, good defensively, and then Ohio State always seems to do well against them. And I don't know. I mean, we haven't had a real tough game against them in a while. I think it was, was it the JT Barrett game where he threw all the interceptions? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
So it's been a while since, and that was at Iowa too. So I mean, this is a home game. That's a much bigger deal. And so I don't know. Like I would normally be a little concerned because of their defense and their running game, but I don't know. It just seems like for whatever reason we don't have problems with Iowa. And I think that I think that Iowa's defense is going to be good against most teams. I just don't think they're going to be able to handle the passing game. And really, it's just the diversity. I mean, you can't shut down the run and the pass. Like one of them is going to work, if not both.
Yeah, exactly. One of them is going to work. However, I didn't watch the full Michigan State game. I just saw the box score and the player stats for the running game for Ohio State, and I did notice that Travion and Judkins both had not super stellar rushing stats. What happened there? I mean,
there wasn't a lot of carries, but yards per carry, they were good.
Were they? Yeah, that's my question. Like, what happened? All I saw was a small amount of carries. I don't get that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. They were airing it out. But I mean, they did have some really nice runs. The runs that they did have, especially Travion. This was one of his better games running. I mean, he had a really nice stiff arm. I think they both did actually, and it seems like one of the big improvements this year is that both Judkins and Henderson are both doing a really good job with stiff arms. And I did see a chart this year, or actually today, that was for this year showing it was showing just the Big Ten teams, and it was showing yards before contact and then yards after contact. And Ohio State was far and away the number one team in the Big Ten for yards by running backs before they were touched. And no one was really close to that. And they were like sort of middle of the road after contact. It's just, I don't know if it's entirely the offensive line, although the offensive line has been really, really good. Our left tackle, center, and left guard have been playing, at all American to all Big Ten level. And our right guard, I think we finally have a decent right guard. It's just right tackle that we're worried about. So, if you have only one person you have to worry about on your line, you can sort of help with chip blocks and scheming. And I think that's one of the other reasons with the line, why it's doing a lot better this year. It's just Chip Kelly's scheming has been so good with just constant RPOs, and just no one knows whether it's a run or a pass. And so many times you see Will Howard running out there, and you don't know if he's running to do like some sort of just some sort of trickeration with the handoffs or reverses, or if it's going to be a throwback or a pass. And it's just, like the cameraman is getting screwed up all the time too. If you're watching the game, it's hard to tell where the ball's going, and no one seems to know. So that's really opening things up. Really the only weakness I think right now on the offense, besides tight end, although our tight end did score. Other than that, the only other weakness I would say is probably Will Howard is not super accurate throwing the ball deep. So we have like these really great, 2 first-round receivers, and he can't hit the deep ball very well. Now he could do a jump ball, and we'll probably win a lot of those, but not all of them. Whereas he does make a lot of plays like on slants, and his intermediate game is very accurate for the most part. But I'm a little concerned he does still make some plays that sort of are head scratchers. Like he did have one bad interception against Michigan State. It was just a bad pass. And then he had another one where there was 2 defenders in the area, and he probably shouldn't have even thrown it. And it got tipped up, and against a good defense, that would have been like not just an interception, it would have been a pick 6. So, he's throwing some questionable balls so far. So it seems like, like 98% of the time he's really accurate. Can't throw it super great deep, and still has a few questionable passes that hopefully he can iron those out. But definitely concerned with the potential for turnovers there.
Well, so there's a tough stretch. Okay, you're playing Iowa.
Yeah,
and I don't think Ohio State's necessarily going to look. It's Iowa, and then next weekend is Oregon, right? Yeah. At Oregon. I don't feel like Ohio State is probably looking past Iowa because they probably have a little respect for them, and that's the first semi-tough game.
Yeah, I mean they're 3-1, and they have a 1-point loss to Iowa State, who's also. Yeah.
But wow, that's actually the stretch they have.
And then Nebraska,
Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska, and then at Penn State.
And then we have Indiana and Michigan. I mean, this is not a easy schedule.
Okay, I guess Indiana's. Yeah, I mean
Indiana's ranked. They're undefeated. They're doing really well.
Yeah, I mean Michigan's got to play them too, I think. But is there any? I mean, you don't think they're looking ahead to Oregon at all?
I don't think so. I think that they're really concerned because they're. The one thing that's helpful is they've given up some plays to running quarterbacks this year, and so Iowa is not a running. Cade's not a running quarterback. You don't have to worry about the quarterback sneaks.
Cade can do whatever he wants. He's undefeated against the Buckeyes.
You don't have to worry about the quarterback sneaks, and you don't have to worry about the quarterback option like they did against Michigan State and against Marshall. Even
you don't have to worry about passing. You don't have to worry about running.
But I mean, no. But that's like the only thing that we really sort of struggled with a couple times this year is the running quarterbacks, which is why I'm still a little worried about Michigan just because. Orji did well running against us in the few times he ran last year, and that is what he's good at. And your running back is also good. It's just your offensive line is super questionable, especially your right tackle.
Yeah, especially the right tackle, but they're improving. They're improving.
Yeah, we both have bad right tackles, but yours is just like we have 11 quarterback pressures this year. Your right tackle's at 16, which is just absurd. How do you give up 16 pressures and still have a job?
I don't know. That's a nice pivot to Michigan, though. That we do need to talk about Michigan. Excuse me, but it's you know what, Amos? Actually, you're not terribly wrong about that. I don't think Michigan necessarily. He's more of a power runner. He's not like a Jalen Milroe type of runner, and I don't think Michigan, even though they have him as a runner, they're not going to use him very often. Like. You would it's not the 1990s Nebraska teams that they're going to use him like that. They're going to run the running backs, and they're going to use him spot checking running. And I don't think they want to do that. I don't think they want to get him injured. And that's actually not even the Michigan offense, the way they want to do it. They really want their quarterback, even though he looks like freaking he's the guy is just absolutely stacked and super athletic. They're still not going to run him the way some other like a lot of other offenses would. So I think that he's probably pretty good. He's not the type of runner that we would actually think from a Nebraska offense essentially. But yeah, I mean, Michigan has to go to Washington. Like I said at the top, Michigan doesn't necessarily play well at Washington, and Washington is highly underrated as a venue. I've heard some really awesome things about Washington.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty loud there.
I've heard it's really loud, and it's just a great atmosphere, and I'm worried about Michigan. because
plus it's a revenge game.
They've proven that they can't necessarily adjust after they get a lead, and I'm worried about that.
Yeah, I mean the other thing, I mean you guys barely handled Minnesota with the help of the refs, so we'll see if you're not able to convincingly beat Minnesota. I would say that every game on the schedule is going to be questionable this year.
Yeah, and it's important right now because Michigan has a bye week coming up. And it's like if Michigan loses to Washington, we've got to sit for like 2 straight weeks and soak in our loss, in our failure. And that's going to make everyone start wondering, excuse me, and everyone start basically wondering if we should make a switch at quarterback, because that's what it's going to come down to. We're already thinking that, who's going to be the quarterback. And when you look at that, like if you were in Michigan, you're a coach, like you've got Michigan's situation, would you have Wargy in there or would you have someone else in there as far as someone, it has to be actually someone on the roster?
It's weird that your highly rated freshman is not even, they just already said that he's redshirting and they're not even thinking about it. So, I mean, I wonder how far behind he has to be for them not to even consider him when you look around the country and so many freshmen are getting thrust into the starting lineup. I mean, a lot of the top freshmen started from day one, but, you have other teams like Florida, right, who their star freshman came in after the other guy got benched, after Mertz was benched, so Lagway came in. And, I just, you just see that more and more now, like the Oklahoma's star quarterback got benched and they brought in the freshman and he did, pretty well. Other teams are doing it. I don't know why Michigan can't try to be. It's not like you guys have like an elite quarterback here. Like if your quarterback is this inept at passing the ball, how bad does the freshman have to be right now where he can't do even a little bit better than that?
It depends on the interceptions. I mean, Davis Warren is actually, like, I would say he's not a terrible passer. He's got some decent arm talent. He just turned the ball over and I think Steve Dace announced this. He said that it was every 4th drive Michigan had, Davis Warren would throw an interception. So obviously that's not sustainable, and they pulled him. But with Jaden Davis, I don't think that they're going to throw him in there for a while because of that offensive line. Like he's got four games he can play and still redshirt. Maybe that'll,
Yeah, but I mean, from what I heard was, I don't know, his parents wanted him redshirted.
Well, if they were at practice and saw the offensive line, maybe that's what happened. His parents said, "Hey, don't put him in there." But I mean, towards the end of the year, I totally think they could get Jaden Davis in there if he's ready.
What about the other guy? Was it Tuttle or something? Don't you have some other guy that's injured?
Sorry, say that again.
Who was the other guy that you had that was injured? Tuttle or something?
Tuttle is injured. He's always been injured.
How long is he going to be injured for?
Forever. He's going to be injured literally forever. That's what he does. He bounces around to football teams and he gets injured. So
he's out for the year?
No. He is not injured enough that he's still in the back of our minds. But
well, I mean, yeah. So basically, if I were the head coach of Michigan, I assuming that this freshman can't be coached up at all to even be adequate, I would just honestly, I would run the Nebraska offense from 95 and just do an option game. That's all I would do. And it would probably be a lot better than what they're doing now because it's certainly not working.
Yeah, I don't know. And here's the thing, though. They're still winning, though. They've got the defense to keep them in games, and they've got Hillel Mullings, Superman, Kryptonian name.
Why not run the option? You have like service academies that can do it, and they play against other teams that aren't used to it. It's a hard offense to prepare for. Yeah, I guess like the problem would be it's probably hard to implement a lot of that stuff now. But I mean, you have a bye week coming up.
Yeah, that's why I would love to beat Washington. Just figure out some way to beat Washington.
Yeah,
and then you can get into the bye week, and then maybe hopefully start coaching up. We've got to stop saying that he's like similar to Jalen Milroe after what we saw Jalen Milroe do against Georgia.
Yeah,
That's what
everyone's saying Milrow is
said.
going to be like a top
Like
two
Jalen
pick.
Milrow started out. Just, Alex Orji is just a little bit behind Jalen Milrow, as a player. But we got to stop saying that or even thinking that. But yeah, I mean, they need to start coaching him up a little bit, get him a little more involved. And, they wasted the 3 games in the beginning of the season with Davis Warren. And it probably should have been Alex Orji, but I see why they did it. Davis Warren they didn't know he was going to throw an interception every 4th drive. And so then they, now they're stuck. So they're stuck. So hopefully if we can get past Washington, we have Oregon at home, and we've got Ohio State. And of course we play like teams like Illinois and Indiana, where you think theoretically those should be wins, but they may not. So this Washington game is really, really important.
Yeah, I was just surprised. I didn't think that they were any good. That's why I was surprised that you guys were underdogs.
Yeah, Amos, you're right. I kind of feel that way too. Like Warren was bad in the beginning, but he was working through that offensive line. Yeah, he says that he at least looked capable of throwing the ball when he was throwing interception. Yeah, I mean that's very true. Like, what would Davis Warren look like now if they coached him up a bit to, maybe not throw as many interceptions? Not that that's an easy coach up, but now the offensive line has improved. Granted, we can all make fun of Evan Link, but the rest of the line has actually improved quite a bit since game 1. So I could see a couple situations. Alex Orji gets injured, or Alex Orji throws 3 picks in a game and has to get pulled. And then Davis Warren goes back in, and he might actually play much, much better. I could see that happening. And then, Warren didn't have the benefit of all of us knowing that Khalil Mullings was RB1 too. Now that he has a more improved offensive line, we have our running backs. Man, my cough is getting worse and worse on the phone. But anyway, I think it's just definitely a better situation, and Alex Orji is actually benefiting from that now. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't see how. Well, first of all, is Will Johnson? Is he back? Because he missed the game.
The coaches are being a little standoffish on making any commitments.
So that was
there might be some news out there that he and who's the other guy, Josiah Stewart, he was out. That maybe they'll be back. I hope they are. I hope we've got everyone back.
So here's the problem with Michigan or any team now, where you're to the point where you don't think you're going to make it to the playoffs, and a loss to Washington is definitely going to mean you're out of the playoff hunt. And star players are going to potentially, let's say you have sore knee, little hamstring issue, you're just going to sit out the rest of the year because you're going to be a top 5 pick. There's no need to risk injury and losing millions of dollars if your team's not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing that is worrisome. If Michigan loses to Washington,
that's why you need that win. That's a really important win.
Yeah.
You get 2 losses is still an outside chance, because if you run the table, somehow beat Oregon and Ohio State, then you would make the playoffs. But odds of that are obviously low.
Right. If they can't beat Washington, and then they go into the bye week where there's no game to prepare for, and people are in their ears, and all of a sudden Will Johnson and all of the guys that are potentially first-round picks think, hey, this just isn't going to happen this year. We gave it a try. It's just not going to happen. Maybe we shouldn't get injured. Let's just take the rest of the year off. Oh my gosh, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening. I mean, I could see that happening at maybe Ole Miss, someplace like that.
I think it's going to happen everywhere. I think it's going to start happening everywhere.
I hope you're wrong. I hope
I'm wrong too.
Very, very wrong.
I mean, people were opting out, way before all this happened, and now I just think it's just going to be worse. I'm hoping what they can start doing when they get better structure around NIL and maybe some regulations, maybe they can have NIL so it sort of, to get your payment, you actually have to play the whole year. You can't like opt out at the end, or if things aren't going well for your team. But like that's going to be hard to enforce, right? Because you're going to, you have sometimes you have, a team doctor will say, well, it should be okay, but like if the player doesn't feel like his knee is 100%, but the doctor says he's technically okay to go, like, is that going to mean that he can't, he's no longer eligible for his NIL? I mean, they're going to have to do something with the NIL to make it so you have to play the games or something.
Maybe. But you know what I'm kind of looking forward to this year if Michigan doesn't make the playoffs is a big NIL bag for Michigan while Ohio State's going deep into the playoffs and not able to do anything. And Michigan will go out with their bag of money and snatch up players.
So you're forgetting what's supposed to happen December 23rd, though. That's a couple days before Christmas. You're supposed to have the NCAA's response to the NOA, and that'll be your punishment time.
Are you thinking that Santa Claus is going to drop a huge NCAA like bomb into your little stocking?
Yes, I am. I've been thinking that for a while. But it's just funny that it's going to happen like right around Christmas time, which is, assuming Michigan takes the full amount of time to reply to their NOA, which was 90 days. And then assuming that the NCAA takes their full 90 days, and it's going to be, right around Christmas.
Yeah, I think that's wishful thinking. I think you're
just going to completely screw up your portal additions this year, which I'm happy about.
I think you're getting coal in your stocking this year, because if you've looked at the statute for pre-scouting in the NCAA rulebook, it's about that long with no explanation or definitions. That is definitely not a statute that the NCAA, at least in the beginning, cared about. Now, granted, they could add up all of these little ankle-biting violations that Michigan's done and say,
you read the draft, right? Did you read the draft anyway? Not the final one, but you didn't. Yeah, there was some harsh language.
Yes, I did. I take that back.
At least you read at least the high points, which we discussed before about how it was basically saying it without using the words. It was sort of like lack of institutional control. Level 1 violation against Michigan, and then you guys are repeat offenders, and you have coaches that are repeat offenders. So having your head coach as a repeat offender, even for a minor level 2 violation, which was deleting the text messages, that's still as a repeat offender. So he's potentially getting, show cause for a certain amount of games. Hopefully not the whole year. Otherwise you guys are really screwed, right?
Not really. I think the NCAA is trying to make level 1 happen, but I don't think they're going to do it. Way too much.
You like the self-sanction here?
Yeah, Michigan should tell the NCAA they Yeah, that's hilarious. We self-sanctioned by playing Davis Warren and then going to Alex Orgy. That's awesome. That is a self-sanction. I mean, oh my gosh.
Doesn't this remind you of the Rich Rod days, the Rich Rod quarterback days, where you guys just had such trash? How many quarterbacks?
Yeah, that's before the transfer portal, and Rich Rod was left with nothing. And Ryan Mallett said, "I'm not playing in this offense," and went to Arkansas. And then Rich Rod didn't get Terrell Pryor, and my gosh, he should have tried to get someone else besides Terrell Pryor. Leaping for the moon. But anyway, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for joining. Appreciate the chat.
Hold on, we have to at least give predictions for this.
Predictions? I don't want to do that. I want to give the outro, because the predictions I'm thinking it's going to be bad all around for me. I don't really want Ohio State to win, and I don't want Michigan to lose. And unfortunately, I think two of those are going to happen. But I'll start with Michigan. I think Michigan will pull it out. It'll be a close game, low-scoring game. They'll win it with a field goal, something like that, last-minute drive. I don't think Washington still has a Washington defense. And Michigan, I think, in their running game is going to, at some point in the game, actually take over enough, score enough points, and Michigan's defense will be able to hold them. they'll probably take the second and third quarter off Michigan's offense, maybe even the defense, like we've just seen, and then in the fourth quarter figure something out. But I think Michigan's going to pull it out. They're a 2-point underdog. Even at Washington, I think Michigan's going to figure out how to win this game. If they're going to beat USC the way they did, I think they should be able to beat Washington.
Well, they should be able to, but they almost lost to Minnesota. So anything's on the table.
Keywords.
Yeah.
Let me take Ohio State, and then you can do your two.
All right.
I think Ohio State's going to win they're going to cover in the points because Iowa may have a good defense, but defenses get very, very demoralized when their offense can't do anything. And I think the running back out of Ohio, the guy's out of Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And he popped off earlier. I don't think he's going to be running for very much. And the game is going to be put on the shoulders of Cade McNamara, something that he didn't have to do when he played Ohio State the first time. He didn't have to throw very many passes at all. And it's going to come down to him, and it's not going to work very well. I think Ohio State's going to run away with it, maybe 21, 24 points.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as for Michigan, I'm obviously rooting for Washington to win, and they're favored to win. But I still have to. I don't know. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do it. I think Michigan will still pull it out. I think they'll win in a close game. I think the running game and the defense, even without a passing game, should still be enough to beat Washington. I think you'll win by 7 to 10 points even. I'll probably bet on that game.
Well, you know what? You called Michigan beating USC, so. Yeah. I didn't call that. I thought you were crazy, but you were right about that. So I'll listen to this time too.
Yeah, and then Washington's just not that good. I mean, the only reason that I would caveat my prediction at all is if Will Johnson isn't playing, because if he doesn't play, then all bets are off. But assuming he's healthy and playing, I'll be betting on that game for sure. I just don't see how Washington's going to do anything. And then for Ohio State, we don't usually struggle against teams that are one-dimensional. And I will say I think it's going to be a little dicey in the first half because for whatever reason it takes us a while to sort of figure out what the other team's offenses have been doing the last few weeks. So even against Marshall and against Michigan State, like the offenses were pretty effective, and we were able to get some turnovers there to make it so the games weren't as close as they actually felt. And I think that with the big playability from their running back, I'm actually predicting that their running back is going to go over 100 yards, and he's going to have a couple big runs, but they're all going to be in the first half. So I'm thinking Iowa's going to get like 17 points, 14, maybe like 14 points. Both in the first half. I don't think they're getting anything in the second half. And I think we're going to really pour it on and, probably win like, 42 to 14. But it's going to be, a little ugly in the first half, giving up some big runs and some rushing yards because our, we take too long to adjust and our linebackers aren't great.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Blue Wolverine has a question for you. What's your opinion on G. Scott? Because I know he did score a touchdown.
I still think
he's generally been a liability.
Yeah. No, I mean, our tight ends are not good receivers. We don't have any good receiving tight ends. Will Kuzmarek is a good blocking tight end. He did get a personal foul in this last game that cost us a touchdown. But as far as, that was blocking too much because he pushed the guy after he pancaked him. But he's actually a good blocking tight end. And, with as many stars as we have on our team, as long as we have a tight end that can block, I am just ecstatic because we haven't had one of those in a while. But we don't have anyone on the team that can catch as a tight end.
That's curious because G. Scott transferred over to tight end from being a receiver. So
he's not good.
If he still can't catch,
he's mid light. He's not even mid. Mid is like Condor McCord was mid. And he actually had some good plays, like G. Scott, getting a short touchdown. No, he's not good. There's no one. Our receivers are blocking unbelievable this year. That's crazy. It's like, we're getting all these big runs by the running backs because the receivers are actually holding blocks. So
That has to be Chip Kelly.
yeah, no, Chip Kelly, everything Chip Kelly has done, it, his scheming and getting the receivers to block has just been a night and day difference. I mean, you look at our running, we had bad games at the beginning of last year too, and not as bad as this year because I think we did play Notre Dame, right? But other than that one, like we were struggling against Indiana. We couldn't run on anybody the first half of the season last year, and this year we're just running on everybody. I mean, we're getting like almost 300 yards a game. I mean, it's just incredible.
It's like you have 2 head coaches essentially.
Yeah,
because
it's great.
Chip Kelly is getting your guys to do things that your head coach couldn't get them to do.
Yeah, I mean, like really, the only concern is just linebackers and right tackle. So,
all right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Greatly appreciate it, Matt. We will see what happens this weekend, but looking forward to it, and we will talk to you all later. Go Blue.
Go Bucks.